Okay, I was able to work on the budget. The biggest thing I worked on with this budget was really projecting what is coming for the rest of the year and how it looks in comparison to our budget. On calculations, I pretty much found that last year earned income came in almost $300,000 projected less than what we had put in. For this year, I honestly am estimating 1.2 million as a cushy number. I'm really, really hoping that it comes in higher, but I haven't seen a good K-up on EIT since at least last year. So I'm not expecting it probably to come too much above 1.2. Hopefully it'll come up to 1.3, but that means earned income is showing around $250,000 to $300,000 roughly under budget from what we projected for this year.
Connie, on that part right there,
Yep.
we usually get checks in January. We've seen in the following year that we receive checks. Is that in earned income or is that just dealing with real estate?
That's just earned income, and with us going on cash, and whatever happens in this year is accounted for in this year.
Okay, so yeah.
January through December, everything that we've accumulated, we won't get checks next year, and that'll count towards next year. We should get another big check in November. They typically, the bigger checks run about $130,000 to $150,000.
Could the shortage then be just the accounting method versus the accrual versus the cash basis?
No, not at all. This is strictly the reports from Keystone Collections, which does our earned income tax. We, in 2015, brought in 1.579, but in 2016, what they accounted for on their books and their records was the 1.269 million.
Okay.
So we don't, I don't do the accounting necessarily for it, so I don't know why it's coming in less. I don't know if it's because people with higher incomes have moved out, people have lost their jobs, whether people are moving. I don't know how to predict earned income. I think a lot of municipalities though in general struggle with that, but right now it's a big shortfall for our budget. Over the course of 2 years, we budgeted for almost $600,000 more to come in. We've been able to do as best as we could to try and limit a lot of the expenses. Even this year, there's things that we've not done yet or that the board has been very conservative with in trying to be mindful of controlling costs. But I don't know how we can make up for $300,000 because next year, in good conscience, I cannot put in something that high. I mean, the board obviously sets the number, but I felt more comfortable putting it at like 1.3. It'll be helpful to see kind of how earned income comes in the beginning of November to know if we can push it up more, but like I said, last year it was at 1.269 and this year it's looking lower.
Connie, the change from the cash to accrual, that was for 2016 or we made that change in 2015?
It was for the 2016 year. So when we started in 2016, we were still modified, but when the entire audit went down, they changed the books from the beginning of the year and the accountant took care of making that conversion process.
Okay, so it's, as far as Keystone, because that is correlating with 2016, the change of accounting, so I'm just wondering if those checks that we just discussed that we normally get in January and February is not being put into that possibly it could be in the accounting change that we could be that short too.
No, it literally, it runs from January to December. So Keystone starts their reporting from January and goes through to December.
Right.
What we did is we used to wait for that check to come in and move it back. So we made an estimate to how much it would be. In accounting, I mean, the number was fuzzier and kind of going in the audit and finishing up a year's process, it flushes it out, but it's not going to change it.
Okay, so it's
If
definitely
it
short.
would have done it, it would have done it for 2016. And the change in the accounting method, it would have reflected in that year. But at this point, we're still on cash basis. Now this is our second year on cash basis.
Okay, yeah, we
Everything
came to
that comes-
2017.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So but you're estimating somewhere between 200 to 300 shortfall
Yes,
for this year.
yes.
And then for next year's budget, that also would be that short if we budget that high on EIT.
I-
If you if it was to come in short again.
We have to bring that number down, we can't leave it up at 1.55, because nothing is showing us any type of projections that says we're getting a large influx of people moving in, we have a, very, very wealthy person with a fantastic job that's coming in, and it's a lot of earned income revenue. We only receive 0.5 of 1%, or so 0.5% from people's earned income, and they take 1% of people's income. So $300,000 is a lot of income.
Sure, okay.
I really wish that number were coming in higher. I would love to tell you guys that it is gonna come in higher this year, but I want to,
It is what it is.
Clear.
So going on from there, so we definitely have a problem for this year, and then, we'll try to use that number for next year. Okay.
so right now, I'm not showing us clearing this year in the positive.
Right.
So we do have, a cash fund or a fund balance to the general fund that we've carried. I do not know that number offhand, I'd have to look into like the audit reports. So even if we do have a shortfall of $100,000 this year, I do believe that the general fund balance will cushion and take the blow okay, but it won't help for next year.